Hey everybody, Dieter Kurtenbach, Larry Kruger here in the KMBR studios in San Francisco. And Larry, we're talking about a win.
Wow. Niners win. Niners win.
Blaine Gabbert, first up, obviously, in my book. Maybe a little bit too much bias here on the Missouri Tigers, but I thought Blaine looked really good. Mind you, he's not going to win any Pro Bowl selections, not going to Honolulu or anything. He's probably the 25th best quarterback in the NFL, but compared to what we had seen in the previous 8 weeks, this is night and day. Gabbert made good decisions. His feet, which is supposed to be Kaepernick's strength, looked like his strength comparatively, kept the 49ers offense moving. Offensive line played stronger in front of him as he was able to stand strong in the pocket. No sacks allowed. A lot of positives for Blaine Gabbert, and if Jim Tomsula doesn't name him the starting quarterback for Seattle, Jim Tomsula might not be the head coach for the game in Seattle.
Yeah, well, I think that's really more just about, I'm going to tell my quarterback before I tell the media, but whatever. It's all message sending. I mean, overall, I thought Gabbert played really, really well.
Yeah.
You know, I thought the timing was good, the rhythm was good. His accuracy was the one thing that was real noticeable.
Yeah.
He was a lot more accurate than Colin Kaepernick.
He wasn't one-hopping screen passes?
I mean, I counted one pass that was truly an errant throw. So I thought Gabbert was overwhelmingly good. You know, he had a couple bad balls throughout the day. That's playing quarterback in the NFL. He's still operating behind a really bad line with running backs who were signed the week before, with receivers who aren't going to the Pro Bowl.
Nope.
You know, so it's not a great cast. The cast stayed the same, but the result looked different, and I think you got to credit Gabbert. I mean, there are other people. It's a team game, but to me, Gabbert's progress, or Gabbert's performance, I should say, probably was the story.
Sean Drone comes off the street, gets a surprise start at running back, and talking to guys in the locker room after the game, they were incredulous early in the week about how this guy was able to be signed off the street. He showed everybody yesterday. He looked fantastic, and I believe you said during the game, a lot of pop, a lot of pep in the step, if you would.
Well, I mean, he gave you everything you wanted, right? As a runner, as a receiver. He was in good shape. He seemed. Now, the one thing about it, it's real easy to know where to run because that's just the same for every team. But it's the protections.
Yeah.
And they used him a lot in on pass plays, and he didn't have any real glaring blocking issues. So Drone was a real great story, and I don't know that all three of those guys. You know, Pierre Thomas to me looked to be the weakest of the three. I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of changed out Pierre Thomas, but Drone looks good, and Drone looks like a guy who they can depend on at least the rest of the year.
Carlos Hyde should be back for that Seattle game, but if not, there's not too many worries that they don't have a running back, which was a concern heading into this week. Obviously, the Niners only score 17 points, so can't be too optimistic. It was so much better than everything we've seen, but at the same time, this is a 1-point win over a pretty bad Atlanta team that's fallen off the table a little bit. Any downs that you had off the top of your head?
Well, I mean, overall, I mean, I don't think that the defense necessarily. The defense I thought was really strong throughout, but there were plenty of times where there was really no pass rush on Matt Ryan. And that's something that, you look at the number of times they threw the ball, I would have thought they would have gotten a little bit more pass rush on him than they did. So that, to me, that would be the down, is that their pass rush is, still remains kind of spotty.
No question it was the wide receivers for me. You look at some of the passes that Gabbert made, and the joke on Twitter certainly during the game was, well, how the heck are these guys supposed to catch the ball? They have so many drops because they're not used to getting the ball on their hands. And that's what it looked like at a certain point. I mean, there were a lot of really bad drops that, if there was anyone else on the depth chart, would probably mean that guy would get some run. But the 49ers are just in a position where Jerome Simpson's got to be able to catch a ball. I mean, it's not as if he's not a good route runner. Torrey Smith, good route runner, sort of. I mean, but he's the $40 million man. He's got to be able to catch a ball, and there were two pretty heinous drops for both of them in that game. Be interesting to see if Anquan Boldin comes back, if somehow the drops stop. It just seems like he has a calming influence over that receiver.
He's got great ball skills too. I mean,
Yeah.
he's got the hands. Torrey Smith has always had big time speed and kind of questionable route running in hands, and we've seen that this year.
Yeah.
And he just doesn't. I mean, first of all, he's not worth the money they're paying him.
Nope.
But this is what happens when you have to, fulfill a need. They had a severe need. They needed a deep threat. He's a proven deep threat.
2 weeks to figure it out. Seattle, 22nd, I believe, is the date of the game. 2 weeks from now. Plenty to talk about between now and then, and maybe if Jim Tomsula obliges a quarterback controversy during that entire period of time. We'll find out, but until then, Dieter Kurtenbach, Larry Kruger, signing off. Good night, Australia.